We're very excited. We have a decrease in the positive cases. Good job, Chidane. You all have done an outstanding job out there.
Well, the Navajo Nation Vice President Myron Leiser back in August when ABC4 News checked in on their progress coping with the coronavirus. Now, nearly 2 months later, Navajo Nation has 10,819 total cases, including 31 new cases today, and more than 7,300 people who have recovered from the virus. So how is the Navajo Nation managing the coronavirus crisis today? Well, here to speak with us about that is Navajo Nation President Jonathan Nez, joining us live via Zoom. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you here tonight.
Well, thank you for having us, Emily.
This is incredible what you guys have done. So let's hear first off, how is COVID-19? How's the situation at Navajo Nation right now?
Well, first of all, I just want to say, just to reiterate what the Vice President said, it is the Navajo people who have followed through on the public health recommendations. And, you know, we went even as far as incorporating some of those recommendations into policy and law here on the Navajo Nation. Early on in April, we mandated everyone to wear masks in public. And we even went as far as doing lockdowns and curfews. Matter of fact, Emily, we are starting a lockdown in about 22 minutes. And from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. Monday, just trying to encourage everybody to stay home and slow down the spread and stop the spread here on the Navajo Nation.
Well, the numbers are proof to it all. So back in May, Navajo Nation was one of the top 3 COVID-19 hotspots in the country. Since then, you've brought your case counts down dramatically while the rest of the country is dealing with this second wave. So what are some of the responses you took that you found successful and contributed to the decrease in cases? I think you just named a few, but if you could go into what has made it such a switch there at the Navajo Nation.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of lessons learned since the onset of this virus coming into our land. And, you know, with state of Utah, a couple of weeks ago, you all were per capita one of the highest in the country. So there's a lot to learn from people who have gone, or even governments that have gone through some of these spikes. Here on the Navajo Nation, it's really for us incorporating our culture, our tradition, and our teaching into, you know, fighting this virus. We call it a monster here on the Navajo Nation. You know, since time immemorial, there's been many monsters that have come onto the Navajo Nation and plagued our people. And this is just another one that has snuck into our homes, our communities, and our homeland. And so, you know, with our way of life teaching, letting our young people know to be warriors and help our elders and those most vulnerable population to get water, get food supplies for them. I think our young people have done a great job in sheltering and protecting our most vulnerable population here on the Navajo Nation. So kudos goes to our Navajo citizens.
Many kudos. That is a powerful visual to call them warriors by choosing to protect the elderly. And then also the visual that this is a monster, taking this seriously, that this is something that could do a lot of harm, even deadly. So making this progress hasn't been easy since Navajo Nation is more vulnerable to the virus. Can you talk about some of the factors that make it more challenging for tribal members to combat COVID-19 on the reservation?
Well, as many people have known this far, 30 to 40% of our Navajo people don't have running water or electricity. So it's hard for us to tell our people to go and wash your hands periodically with soap and water and electricity, trying to get information out to our citizens, especially those in the most rural parts of the Navajo Nation. But I appreciate the healthcare professionals going door to door, our CHRs, our senior citizen staff, going to door just to let everyone know how serious this pandemic is and how vulnerable some of our people are, because we have high rates of diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and cancers. You know, over 500 uranium mines still open here on the Navajo Nation, which is, causing a lot of cancer. And so we have to shield those most vulnerable here on our nation. And I commend our public health experts, our law enforcement as well. And, you know, I'm hoping that, as Dr. Anthony Fauci said about the Navajo Nation, that, you know, looking at Navajo could be a model to combat coronavirus in regions throughout this country, or maybe even the world.
Right, such an example, yes. So there is so much love and support for our Navajo community. We've heard of aid and resources coming in from all over the place. Can you talk about that then?
Absolutely. Our friends of the Navajo Nation, you know, with the lack of support that we received from the federal government at the onset of this virus, many people came to our aid. And I want to say thank you to the people in Salt Lake City, Phoenix, Arizona, Denver, Colorado, Albuquerque, New Mexico, who stepped up and assisted the Navajo people. And half of our population, Emily, live off the Navajo Nation. And a lot of our Navajo people gave back during this time in May and June when there was a significant increase. And with the testing, Emily, we're per capita, if we were compared to other states, we are number one in as many people, over 50% of our people being tested for COVID-19 here on the Navajo Nation, probably even more than most countries throughout the world.
Right.
So
okay.
Testing is important.
I'm so sad that we have to go because I feel like we could keep talking for several more minutes. Real quickly, we are out of time, but if you had one last sentence you want to make sure the community hears from you tonight, what would that be?
Well, Emily, we're all in this together. What affects us here on the Navajo Nation affects those off the Navajo Nation and vice versa. So let's continue to wear our masks, social distance, also wash our hands with soap and water, and stay home a little bit more because, you know, we're all in this together and we can fight this monster out of our communities.
We can all be warriors, as you put it. Thank you so much again, Navajo Nation President Jonathan Nez. We appreciate